Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of ZD Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, ZD and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Mallory Donahue.
And this is ZD Donahue.
And this is one of those, this has happened to us a couple times, where we've had to re-record an episode because of corrupted audio. And it always makes me a little sad because I think we do our best work when we're like kind of fresh.
Yeah, we're better off not scripted and not prepared.
Or maybe we're wrong.
Maybe we're wrong. Maybe they'll tell us, oh, that was the best one you ever did.
This is the best one. You should record them all twice.
For some reason, we're kind of good off the cuff. But you know what? I've been kind of sick in between when we did that. So I feel like I have forgotten everything I ever knew.
Well,
so maybe it'll be like the first time again.
It's sort of a Mallory-heavy
like
episode a little bit.
It's like I'm a virgin again.
Oh. A disclaimer. Okay, this episode contains... Speaking of.
Yes, this would have an X on it.
Yeah,
X.
This is an explicit episode. It's not like we are being cruel or anything to anyone, but it includes frank discussion of genitalia.
We name genitalia by their proper names. Well, and maybe their improper names at some point.
And a little bit of like sexual humor, adult content.
Adult
humor.
Content.
So if you are listening to this with kiddos in the car, turn it off. Or if
unless your kiddos listen to adult content.
That's fine.
And I usually wanted my children to listen to their first adult content with me. I thought that was the best deal. Okay.
And then
my motherly advice: let your children listen to porn. No.
There you go. Okay. So and then also if you are a person who's like under the age of like 16 or 18 or something like that, maybe let your parents check this episode out before you listen to it.
Or ask them to listen with you. Maybe that would be good.
Anyway, we said that, so we've covered
we've covered our rear ends.
Okay, so Lysistrata.
The other day I was thinking about this. Okay, though, all the names for rear end.
So many.
You know, like your derriere, your tuchus. What else?
So
I don't know. Yeah, your bum. Some of them are cultural. Some of them are like colloquial.
Yep.
There's all those names. Okay.
Glad that's
like all the other body parts.
That's what ZD's thinking about, guys. It gets you inside ZD's head. Okay?
Well, I think it. No, I mean, how many things do we have that many names for in the world except our body parts?
Right.
We call a bicycle or a bike. Like we don't have 14 names for
a bunch of synonyms.
Right.
All right, so what happened, what's happening here is we're going to discuss how ZD and I costumed a show in about a week, okay?
Well, and this is funny, too. I was thinking this over last night. I thought, maybe my days of costuming had dwindled, and now between you and
now we've got 3
and Hillary and Catherine, it's all just speeding up. Oh, and another aerial show.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all just
sorry,
again.
Mom.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
So, what's going on here in our hometown of Columbia, Missouri, is there's a theater called Talking Horse Productions. That's where I did Sweeney Todd. So that's where our last kind of costuming thing kind of came out of doing that. And a local playwright, she's a writer and she writes original music and she writes original plays. She's decided to do a series called Girl-illa Theater. So not gorilla as in war.
Play on words
here.
Girl-illa.
And she's doing classical pieces of theater, but casting an all-female cast. And it's supposed to just shine a spotlight on getting more women on stage and things like that.
So actually the script is more a bone structure. You can divert sort of you can change
too much,
but you can change. You can change era or something if you want, right?
Well,
isn't that correct?
I think it kind of depends on what she's doing.
But
yes, it does. And so this is we're talking about Lysistrata, and the next show she's doing is Taming of the Shrew. And so I'm her costuming helper basically.
Mm-hmm.
In Taming of the Shrew, she's going to have them wear modern clothing and just have a few pieces. Now Lysistrata, she did want to be in ancient Greece. And
she wanted to give the flavor of it. It wasn't what we would call
historically accurate.
Yeah, it had a lot of polyester in it.
There was a lot of polyester.
Polyester, ancient Greece.
I didn't hand weave all the fabric or whatever. The play Lysistrata is by Aristophanes, and it was written, if I remember correctly, in 411 BC. Now, this is where re-recording is good, because when we recorded the first time...
You said it wrong?
I said it was 411 BC, so that it had been around for 1600 years.
Right,
No, it's 2400 years, Mallory. So anyway, I get to correct myself there.
Yeah.
I could have not let you know that I made that mistake, but I did. I was ready for the emails. So this is a very old play.
We won't get any emails for this, no.
This is a very old play, but it has lots of, what do I want to say? Call it blue humor with
and that's
sexual humor.
That's what color I made the phalluses, too. They were blue.
I didn't even think about
blue humor.
There we go. The
phalli.
Fallacies.
Phalli.
You're giving away the ending, Mom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The real juicy part's in the second part of the show, everybody. Okay, so Lysistrata, the show, I think it had a total of, like...
Yeah. Okay.
We haven't recorded in a while because Mom's had pneumonia and she is raring to speak.
Yeah, and I'm trying. It's like you can't keep me. Can't keep me back.
I need to rein her in. Okay, so there were about 6 or 7 characters. I'm not even remembering right now. The costumes are still in my car, and I decided I would just make them all easy tea tunics. Okay, and so I put Lysistrata, the main character, I put her in a purple one. The 2 women who are playing men, I put them in blue. I just found all these fabrics and I did these just real quick and easy tunics. And so, what I forgot to do in my excitement over the show is take certain measurements that are very important to the easy tea. So what I forgot to do was take that high shoulder point to bust measurement. And some of these women in this show had really big busts.
Right.
Like, proportionately to the rest of their body. I was like, oh, crap. And I know how to make clothes for small busted people because that's me. But I was so worried, especially for the people I was making their easy tea tunics out of woven fabric.
It was woven.
Okay, but I did end up being successful. Everybody, we either provided them with a belt or they brought in their own belt. So this was all just really simple, okay? Here's where things get complicated. Let's explain what the play is about, right? So the play is about Athenian women being frustrated about their men, their sons, their husbands, their fathers, always going off to war.
Well, yeah, and the men killing off their sons.
Them
losing their family members to war.
Right.
Yes.
And, a woman after she's widowed is
and women didn't go to war then.
Right. And a woman after she is widowed is in this society, really put in a tough place after that.
You lose your status.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And obviously the pain of losing a child. Right. And so they're complaining about this and they're like, we're sick of it. We're going to withhold sex until they make peace.
Right, until they can not have war.
The other funny thing is, though, that this play also explores the fact that women want to have sex, too. Like, Lysistrata, the leader of the pack, she's got to keep the women. They want to go back.
They're just as horny as the men.
Exactly. So I love that about the play. I like that they kind of, that's recognized, that sex isn't only for male enjoyment, right? It's for everybody. And so the funny part of this play is, I wanted to mention, and this is maybe why the audio got corrupted last time, because I looked something up on the internet on my computer. Spike Lee did a version of this show.
He's actually up for an Academy Award this year.
Is he? He did.
And I think I don't think he's ever won.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know that.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Those are stats that I'm always like, I don't know if this person has won. He did a version of this play. He obviously made a movie out of it called Shy Rock, and it's women in Chicago withholding sex in order to halt gang violence. And I've not seen it.
Apparently, it didn't work.
Right. But that was his premise. So this is very. Obviously, this is very, what do I want to say?
This is sort of an age-old story. Yeah. I mean, they used to, you've always seen this, even in the Doris Day movies. Like,
there you go.
Right? She wasn't going to do anything with him until he married her or whatever. Whatever.
Okay.
Until he promised her something. I don't know.
So, the funniest part of the show, and I guess what I didn't explain either, like I said, here we are, re-recording. get things a little messed up. This local playwright, I think you got excited and interrupted me at this point.
I'm sure it was my fault.
I'm sure too. Okay, this local playwright, what she did was she wrote a grant, to be able to produce these shows, and so they were put up in a week.
Right.
Okay, these shows are all going to be put up in a week. People try out for them on a Friday, and they go up the next Saturday, and so they all get to hold Kindles and
it also means there's no money for costumes.
Well, and part of the grant was that the admission would be free the first year, and so right up front, Meg told me, she was like, "Hey, there's no money," and I was like, "That is so nice of you to tell me up front." Like, how? So thank you. And she was like, "I just need," she's like, "This is the grant. The grant went toward the Kindles, blah, blah, blah." I was like, all right. So I thought it was really cool of her to be so upfront about that and not assume that like costuming would be free and she, I wouldn't expect this from her anyway. I'm talking about her like she would do that, but she's designed sets and she's written plays.
She must have heard about our stash.
Yeah,
of fabric.
Actually,
and
I
costumes.
approached her. her because I was so excited. She also.
I don't think we should let the word out like that.
She wrote. She wrote an operetta called Lady Parts, and it's all songs for women that are not about men. And so she wrote all these songs. And it was a hilarious little show that I got to see, and I was like, "That this person's so cool. I want to work with. I want to be involved with her." So anyway, so wildly out of order.
So another costuming adventure with money not involved.
That's right. Right. So, the funny where the humor comes in here is, okay, they're not having sex with their men, and the men are like, "Well, you can't do that, and that's not what wives are for. They're not, supposed to reject their men." They're like, "No, I'm a woman, but you're taking away everything that I could have in my life, the lives of my children, my livelihood." And she says, she's like, "All right, well, they take over the treasury. Like, well, we're gonna be in charge then. If you're not gonna
take care.
If you're not going to run society,
we'll
we're
take
gonna
care
run
of the
society.
money and the sex."
That's
okay.
right. That's right.
Yeah, that's power play.
So then, two men in the show, two of the male characters, end up having erections that they cannot
continuous
get rid of.
Erections. Yes.
Forever erections.
You know how.
Now that was not in the first. Was not in the first.
But it's just like you hear on the Cialis and the Viagra commercials. If you have an erection for a prolonged period of time,
go to the ER.
I would call all my friends.
Good to know, Dee. Good to know. Yeah. All right, so the erections, I think that's maybe why Meg really accepted my help, because I met with her. She's like, "There's no money," and that's why I didn't. That's why at first I was sort of like, "Oh, well, I don't think we really need anything. I was just going to put them in bed sheets, And then I was like, "Wait, this person wants to help me. I should let them help me." I was like, "Yeah, what you could do about the erection?" She's like, "I have no idea," and I was like, "I will take care of the erections." Now I knew that we could figure this out. So anyway. Stay tuned after the message break to hear all about how to make a forever erection.
Oh, gosh.
ZD, what's your favorite way to measure yourself?
With my Easy Check tape measure.
So tell me a little bit about this.
It's the only way to measure myself, I think.
Why is it so magical?
Well, because there's a slide on it.
Uh-huh.
You actually snap one end of the tape measure into the back of the slide, and then you fit it to the measurement, and then you can unsnap, and the slide remains on the place that you've measured.
So if you're trying to measure your arm,
right,
or your underbust,
right,
or your thigh,
or
your head. Oh yeah, the head, right. Definitely.
Well, and measuring yourself is one thing, but even measuring somebody else, what it does is it marks the spot, basically, where the measurement is. And so and this happens to you, that you're measuring somebody and they start talking to you and you're like, was that 21 or 23? Oh my gosh.
Right.
And where with this, the slide has marked it.
I also have heard feedback from customers who say, "I am sending this to my daughter," or, so that she can measure my grandchildren.
That's
and it will
right.
be accurate.
Right.
Right?
We've actually had trainers too.
Yep.
That bought these, for their customers, or they themselves use it for their customers, or it was a male trainer and a female client. He didn't have to put his hands on the person or whatever.
Also, this tape measure, when you use it with a snap, it's impossible to work from the wrong side.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you can't measure from the 60 end. You have to measure from the one end,
from the
zero end.
Yes.
Right. And I said 60, but it also has the millimeters on the other side too. So you've got
you have imperial and you have metric.
Right.
And so the Easy Check tape measure makes it very simple when you are trying to measure yourself and you just don't want to be fumbling around.
Well, and I think, the thing is, don't order one. Because if somebody sees it, a husband or a daughter or just a friend, I mean, honestly, at Christmas time, I would put this like in almost everybody's stocking stuffer. And I think it's a great thing to like send away to college with people, things like that. Where
Fabulous.
You want something measured.
Well, if you're interested in your own Easy Check tape measure, you can see a video on how it works at sewhere.com/tape measure, and you can check it out for yourself. Sewing out loud. And we're back. All right.
And I think that we should
ZD was spelling out the word forever action during our little
try
break.
and look that up on WebMD and see what it comes up.
So we got to make these erections. So at first I thought, maybe like PVC pipe or something. I'm like, that's too heavy. And I even thought, what if somebody like hit someone else with them or ran into something and that was like on your crotch, that would hurt. Like,
yes, it would.
Right? Okay.
I would think.
So
women, all women are wearing these.
Yes, and everyone, you have to identify as a woman, and then the two people who were wearing them, they had vulvas. Okay, so
they didn't have their own penises.
No, they did not. And so like I know a little bit about like maybe how I would wear a forever action. Every vulva's different. Everybody's different. Okay. But I, have some knowledge of this very like kind of intimate, area of the body and everything. So Mom was feeling really bad. We're going to work on our Sewing with Chronic Illness podcast next. But Mom Deal.
We didn't know like I was getting pneumonia and all this stuff.
Yeah, you were getting pneumonia. You're getting pneumonia on top of your chronic illness. And so she was not feeling well, but she comes up to the studio and I'm like, hey, I got to make these, like strap-ons,
That's not the first thing you said. First, I think you told me about the tunics, and then you let me know about the forever actions.
I said about the tunics, and then I was like, but I figured I could handle those on my own.
Right.
But I was like, I don't know what to do. And then you were like, I said the thing about the PVC, but I was like, I don't think that's going to work. That's what popped into my brain
too heavy,
first. Yeah.
Right. Has to be rigid, but light. Right.
And then Mom said,
pool noodle.
Pool noodles.
You make a noodle with the noodle.
There you go.
See, that's another name for a body part.
There you go.
Yeah, see.
Okay, I've never heard anyone be like calling it a noodle. I got, you can like make a joke, but like, does somebody be like, my noodle?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's limp as a noodle.
Oh. All right.
Or as stiff as a pool noodle. I don't know.
So that's a new one. What a compliment.
Yeah.
The pool noodles can stand up under a tunic. So that was the other thing.
That was the other thing. They had to be rigid enough that the weight of the fabric would not make them, bend or snap or go down or whatever.
I did think about the fabric I was using, and those two people got the lightest weight fabric.
Right.
Yeah, so like the Lysistrata character, she had like a light purple interlock knit tunic, okay? And then, but these people had...
Very true to the period.
Yes. These people had navy blue rayon, lightweight rayon fabric for their tunic, so it was going to work. So pool noodle, I was like, that's just seemed like the perfect consistency. And I already had one set aside from some other theater thing where we were maybe going to use them. And so I brought it upstairs. And
again, there's no budget, right? So you
So unless you every once in a while you're sort of like, I'll make this thing because maybe as a costumer, I'll make this thing because I want to use it later.
That's true too.
Or
yes,
something like
sometimes you make things better. Like I'm getting ready. I have to make a dress for Catherine, and she's only going to have it on for like 5 minutes. One time.
Right.
The play's going to play one time.
Oh my God, that play's only...
I know. And it plays only like 45 minutes long because it's like a junior version. But I'm going to go ahead. I have made this similar dress before, and we reuse them and seem to reuse them. And they sort of transfer over in time periods. All we have to do is add a sash or a collar. So I'm going to put a little care into it, a little
more effort into that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I didn't even know what special I would buy to make a forever action. So pool noodles, great.
Yes.
And then we were talking, and I thought I sort of had like the structure of the strap-on apparatus in my mind. And I pictured there being, a place where the forever action is sort of on the body, and then there being 3 points of support. So one that would go back like toward the bum area.
Right.
And then 2 up front. And I thought the 2 up front would like attach to a waistband. Like I was picturing a jock strap.
Right.
Okay, is what I was picturing. And so we were
wondering. A dance belt, if anybody's familiar with that.
Yeah. We were wondering what to attach these pool noodles to.
And I said, no, there has to be a base.
Yeah.
Because the pool noodle, its diameter is not really big enough to give it stability.
Right.
Plus, if it's longer than its base already, so it needs a bigger base to be stable.
It needs to be a forever action. Right. Not a floppy action.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm
flopper
like,
action.
I had just cleaned actually a bunch of stuff up and thrown a bunch of stuff out. And I was like, I got it. Wait. And they actually, I had 3 CD discs that were laying on top of the Destiny that I was getting ready to throw away. Oh my God.
Guys, these were like 1993
clip art. Right. Clip
discs,
art.
CDs,
disc,
ROMs.
Yep. Hey, they work.
Mom knows what to keep. Mom knows what to keep.
Just happened to work.
She knows what to have. So they're like, CDs, oh my gosh, yes. So how are you going to sew onto a CD, Zeddy and Mallory? Well, we'll tell you.
It has a hole in the middle.
It has this hole in the middle, and that was a no-brainer for me. I was like, oh, we're just going to put ribbon through it in thirds. Now, Zeddy got out like a protractor to make sure she was doing, I was like, I think you can eyeball it. But she's like, no, I'm going to mark it. And so we actually have one of the CDs because I thought we needed 3. Right. But we only needed 2. And so
it's sort of like in the memory museum of the window.
Windowsill. So we didn't glue like the ribbon onto the CDs. It got threaded through, and then I went over to the sewing machine and just sewed the ribbon together.
So it looped through the
the CD.
Because it was just, gluing is something I love glue when you're costuming. I love the fact that glue exists.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to think about if things are getting tugged or pulled or what, and, where the force is going to be on them and how long is it going to last. If you're wearing something and there's any sort of force put to it, glue isn't going to work.
No, sewing is, if you can sew it,
right.
Generally that's better.
Or rivet it or whatever.
Well, we'll talk about, another solution later on the podcast that we had to come up with. So we did those ribbons, and then I didn't know who was wearing these actually. I was unsure, and I just had no idea what size anybody was going to be.
What size penis they needed.
No, I was like, I don't know. This could be on somebody who's like a size 0, a size 22. Like, I have no idea. So since I had to get them done so quickly, I did attach some lengths of elastic to the top 2 pieces of ribbon and just left them real long. Right. I was like, I can always piece more elastic, and I can always cut some off and da-da-da. Now, the bottom loop of the ribbon, I actually, like the one that's, facing like down.
It's going up through the crotch.
Going to go up through the crotch. I made a loop in that ribbon to thread a piece of
the butt floss.
The butt floss. Yeah. Okay, so it would have been a thong.
Right.
Okay, but since we talked about jock strap or dance belt, I threaded the elastic through so it could go on either side of their butt cheeks, up to a waistband. Right. Okay, so I was like, oh, that's really smart, and I thought this will be kind of adjustable and etc. So anyway, that was my plan. So we kind of had our attached to the body thing figured out, and then Zeddy, you were gluing the noodles to the CDs. Talk about that.
Right. Well, what we had on hand was the E6000.
Uh-huh.
And we used it initially. Now, the other thing we did decide to do to keep the proper angle of the erection is we cut the base of the tool. Okay, pool. I was going to say tool noodle, but it was that's another word.
A good word.
That's the other one. Tool. He's his tool.
Tool noodle.
Yeah. Anyway,
you're a tool.
So anyway, we cut it off at an angle, and I would say about 30 degrees. Don't you think? Is about what we did.
I think you got the protractor out. For
Mallory
that.
didn't let me measure that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that this base was on a slant, so that when it went on the face of the CD, it and then the CD was at a perpendicular position.
Yeah.
It came out.
That was
at a 30
really
degree
smart.
angle.
That was really smart.
So I really didn't have much trouble with. I had to name them because
oh god, it's so perfect.
Each person had to have
somehow
we had to identify the penises as A and B or 1 and 2 or something. But I named them Shaft and Rocket, I believe. Is that right?
Shaft and Rocket.
Because I thought they deserved a name.
But so Dana and Anna, if you're listening, those people who wore those.
Is that right?
Penises.
So anyway, one had no problem keeping glue.
Yeah,
that didn't
this was
seem
interesting.
And with the E6000. But what you have to know about E6000 is,
talk about this. Preach.
It has solvents in it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the solvents will dissolve certain things. And E6000 can dissolve things like styrofoam. So I ahead of time, I even knew that.
Yeah, we knew, okay, we're going to try this E6000. We'll see if it works. Right. And it was so funny because I remember it was Shaft was fine.
Yeah.
And Rocket, Anna's, one time they were like, oh, I think somebody hit it on accident. And I was like, oh, that's fine. Like, well, we'll deal with it. And maybe it was still wet or something like that. So before we move on to how we fix the E6000 thing,
dilemma,
why don't you just talk about your artistry?
So we talked about, we had just cut these off, and so
they were like
the
a
end
cylinder.
of this noodle was just this flat cylinder, and I was like, this is going to show through the fabric maybe. Like, is the director going to be upset that this looks like a pool noodle and not, a true phallus, right? And Mallory's like, I don't know. And I said, give me a razor blade. So anyway, I then started carving. So they were beautiful. They were just beautiful. I filled in the hole in the pool noodle and everything. And, I did not do veins, but the basic structure, it had, the little mushroom type head. It was circumcised. So we know they were both Jewish.
Well,
right? Actually.
Yeah. So anyway,
you could tell the religion of the man.
I just want to say that ZD got a credit in the program as the penis sculptress.
Yes.
So
and people were jealous of my title.
So as we were doing this, I mentioned that ZD was not feeling well, and a struggle with energy, a struggle with pain. Like, that's what's going on here. And as she carved the penises,
the more I carved,
she kept saying, I am
the
having
more
so
energized
much fun.
I got.
This is making me feel better. Like, she was in her PJs up here, like in her nightgown, in her rash guard nightgown.
Which my husband says, are you dressed or not? I can't tell anymore.
So I was like, I'm so glad that this project is turning out to be like a fun thing and not like a super stressful thing or whatever. And
so as it relates to sewing.
Yeah.
No, I do think if you're having fun, you're energized.
Yeah.
I probably needed some endorphins, and that's probably about one of the only places I could get them at the time. I didn't have the energy to go out and like take a walk or run a race.
Right.
Or whatever, or ride my bike or barely watch TV because that was all pissing me off.
Probably just need to carve some foam
penises. Carve some penises, see what it does for you, and now I do. You didn't bring them home, did you?
Yeah, they're in my car still.
Well, I was going to say,
Derek had to drive around with them in the front seat.
We've got like the vagina vulva pillow,
that's
and
right.
we could actually see if anything could happen.
Yeah. See if they what if they produced costumes?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Amazing.
I always wondered how to just poop out costumes.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so what happened though after we got these going, and it turned out, Shaft was somebody who didn't have to do a lot of movement, I guess, and Rocket had to like run around the stage and lay on their back and do this and then I think they were much more active, really. And so
Rocket got sort of beat around.
Yeah, that's right. So we realized,
never mind.
We all get it, Mom. You don't have to take it too far. Our audience is smart. Okay. So Mom said, "Oh, we need to use caulk."
That's right. We need some silicone.
We need some silicone caulk. And, of course, my parents and, like, Jerry being the way he's like, "Yeah, I got a tube of caulk out there,"
I said, "Do we have any caulk?" He goes, "Oh, I'm sure I can find some. Does it matter what color it is?" I said, "Nope, just matters if it holds the penis on."
There you go. Yep. There you go. So I go downstairs and find the caulk gun, and it was later in the day than I wish it had. Like, I wish I would have done this earlier.
Right.
But I couldn't get it to come out of the
oh no, here we go.
Out of the nozzle. So I called,
how would you spell that?
Yeah. So
anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so I called Jerry and I'm like, what do I do? Like, what am I doing wrong? Is there like a lock on this thing? He's like, no, it might just be clogged. He's like, just slid into the tube, and this is like a really full thing of caulk. And so I was like, okay.
It had been opened before.
It had been opened, and he's like, I think I finished my project, and so it really isn't very useful now. I was like,
it's
all
actually
right.
still over there.
It's still over there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll use it again. So I just slid it open, and I'm on Rocket, on the one that was having
the
all
problem
these
child
issues. I did it, and I also did on Shaft. But then still that night,
Rocket still had. Why we just didn't have him cut right or something?
Yeah, or something. So I'm like, I don't even know if it was truly the E6000's fault. Yeah. But with Rocket, I took it off. Okay,
started over.
I dismembered, the penis, and I redid it, completely with the caulk.
And actually,
and it worked
when I was carving, the head, Mallory goes, "Well, what if they're too long?" I said, "We're cutting it off at the base." That was my plan anyway. Like once
she's over there with like a magnifying glass, and like looking like a jeweler, and with this.
I had already thought about that. I can reglue or caulk, but we will preserve the artistry. We're going to preserve the artistry.
Oh, and you know what we didn't mention because we got into the penis part, but when I went and tried these on the performers,
right.
I didn't actually end up doing another waistband piece of elastic.
Right.
The two pieces of elastic that were attached to the CD ended up coming up over like their abdomen and coming around their back and being like the waistband.
Right.
And then those two pieces that went on either side of their butt cheeks just came up and attached to that. Right. So in case you're ever making a strap on, you only need like those components. Like the waistband can come down into the crotch area, or at least with this one.
Right. So the other thing,
maybe yours would be
the
special.
other thing that also happened in rehearsal. Now these pool noodles were bright, like a bright royal blue, right?
And the CDs were, of course,
holographic, right? So
elastic was white. The ribbon was green and red,
like Christmas ribbon, like stripes. And the director did get a little nervous and said, "Wait a minute, what if the costume like flips up?" She didn't want a blue penis show. I think a blue penis would have been appropriate.
Well,
but anyway,
I think what was going on though too is the one actor was more in danger of showing showing it than the others.
That actor was moving around. Mm-hmm. So these are things that happen to you in your costume. So I came up here and Mallory's hemming something or something, and she says, "Oh, I need condoms for the penises."
I said, "You know what I need you to do? You know what I need you to do?" And you're like, "What?" And I was like, "I need condoms for these penises. She wants them to be black." And I was like, "Get out the DBP. We have a huge box of DBP
double brush poly
scraps." Right. And then we had some pool noodle left over, and so we knew how wide to make it.
Right.
And you just made a rectangle with one end.
It was just a rectangle. I just made it, so it would fit around the circumference. And I thought about rounding it off and all that, and I thought, no, this is silly because it stretches anyway.
Yeah, that stuff's so
and
stretchy.
We knew how long they were because we had measured them.
Right.
And our next issue was, is it going to roll off? It goes down onto the shaft real nice and everything, but is it going to roll? And what we did is we took T-pins, like you would use to hold a wig on a head form or something, and we just put those in the base of the penis.
So I actually wasn't sure how this was going to work. I also had a very sick child at this point. This is coming back to me. This was the 16 days where one of them had unexplainable constant diarrhea.
Right.
So I had a kid at home for more than I thought I was going to have, and so I didn't know if I was going.
That's what your life is.
Yeah, exactly.
You decided to have children.
So I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this, or if someone else was going to. So we took a quick video, and we were like, "Hey, slide this over the penis," and these T-pins are in here, and we folded up the condoms and put the T-pins inside, so they were all in this bag, and
which also explains why sometimes I'm afraid to let other people hold my phone.
Absolutely.
Because I have people's cleavage or
Yep.
like their butt cheek hanging out of a
Be like,
leotard.
how do I do this?
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I'll just say this, that
Right,
I'll draw on
yeah.
it for you.
It's
you
like
know?
people are wondering why I took a picture of, and sometimes it's someone else's body
Right.
part. So like I have a big picture of Catherine's boobs, like kind of cleavage
Right.
on my phone right now because we need to fix a costume, do
Right.
something with it. But
Yeah.
so like people are like, why does this woman have these pictures?
So I had so I got to the theater and she wanted the elastic colored and she said, "Can I paint the elastic?" And I was like, "No."
Here's
Okay,
what you do with
hey,
elastic, everyone.
But also, here's what you do with elastic in this case.
Right.
I took a big old
in any case,
I
actually,
took a big old Magnum magic marker there.
because we wanted it black, and
And I colored
magic
it black.
markers come in black.
Yep. And I colored it black and it's gonna be fine. But also if people are like, "Can you dye elastic?" And like, yes. you can. Yes.
Actually, you can dye a lot of stuff,
a bunch
everybody.
of people in the group, we're going to have to do some dyeing education.
Yeah.
Because, like, every once in a while, I feel like I don't know as much about dyeing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are lots of people who know more about dyeing than me.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you can dye a lot of stuff.
You can dye leather.
Yeah.
So you can dye ballet shoes that are
dye
leather.
buttons.
Shoes, buttons.
You
yes.
can dye elastic. Yeah.
You can dye elastic.
And you know what you said on another podcast was about Rit dye having different types of dye in it.
So the thing about Rit dye, I mean, everybody's like, Procyon this, Procyon. Well, Procyon, you have to look. I mean, that's a brand name.
Yeah.
But dyes are specific for fibers sometimes.
Yes.
So sometimes it will say natural fibers or, manufactured fibers or polyester fiber. It will say the thing about Rit dye, because it was made to go on, the market.
Right.
The whole market.
The household dye.
The household market. Right. It has dyes for all fibers.
Yeah.
So if you take a box of pink dye,
Mm-hmm.
you can dye the polyester, you can dye the silk, you can dye the cotton, you can dye all those things with that pink. Now, here is the one thing that's it will come out the same color. So say you dye them all exactly the same. You put them in the same vat, however you happen to dye them. And there's different ways of dyeing too.
Yeah.
I call it vat dyeing.
Vat dyeing,
whatever. They will all come out the same color pink. They will not be the same intensity.
Right.
Okay, so the polyester might grab better, or the cotton might grab
better.
You don't know.
Whatever. Yeah.
But you also want to pre-wash with Synthropol anyway.
Anyway, I just wanted to let people know you can dye things like that, and Rit dye is a good tool.
And
it's
actually, that's what we used to do for. You couldn't buy pink elastic just easily at your Joann's or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I used to dye a bunch of pink elastic and we'd take it to the dance studio
There
for
you go.
everybody's, especially like the wide elastic that people wanted for point shoes and
Yeah.
things like that. So, I would just make it up and kind of dye it some, pinkish color.
Absolutely. So don't be afraid. Now, I know we've inspired people to dye things on this podcast, so I'm happy about that, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again. All right. So
you can also magic marker stuff.
Yeah. Magic marker the elastic, you let it dry.
Okay,
it's
so
fine.
let's stop here a second too.
Yeah.
You can magic marker shoes. You can magic marker fabric. So, think of all these things, okay?
Especially when you're costuming.
Yeah. Think of all these things, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I did that. Now they were painting the stage actually for the other show that I was assistant directing. And they were painting it black with like latex paint. So they did just paint the CDs black. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, but don't paint the elastic. And then I got to put the condoms on myself.
So why wouldn't you paint the elastic black?
Okay, so it's not going to allow the elastic to be flexible, or it's going to crack.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
It'll either crack off or it'll stabilize it to the point that it'll make it too stiff.
It's not useful, yeah.
But, to color it with the
magic
marker or, dye it, that's your answer on the elastic.
Right. That's right. Yeah, and magic marker, especially if you're just trying to go black for something, is like, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
It's hard to dye black,
I
actually.
got to put the condoms on, got to put the T-pins through. The strap-ons are still in my car. They were in the front seat. They're still in the front seat.
Did you get stopped by the police?
No, but Derek was like, I realized what I was driving around with the other day. And I was like, yeah, I need to
Are they still in your car?
Yes, they are. I kind of wish I would have let the theater keep the tunics. I'm thinking about taking them back.
We can box them.
Okay. So anyway, that was our adventure costuming
This
this
time.
version of Lysistrata.
This time, right?
Taming of the Shrew up next for Guerrilla Theater. I can't imagine that it will be more entertaining. It might not even warrant a podcast.
So are you going to do that too?
Yeah,
Oh.
and I'm supposed to help her out. There are like 3 more performances throughout the year.
Like I said, I thought my costuming days are going to dwindle. But
That's right.
Nope. Well,
Okay.
now let's just add this funny little story.
Uh-huh.
So
No, let's add that later in another podcast. Are you
Okay.
talking about the nightgown?
yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we're going to do a podcast on that whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry if you are someone who's listening to this podcast in February of 2019. We were a few hours late today because our audio got messed up, but that's okay. And thanks to Sam Bam for editing this last minute. And you can find us on Instagram. We are at SoHereCom. You can email me at Mallory@SoHere.com. And ZD?
So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.